Give another hand to Paradox of Choice. I'm going to vamp a little bit before I introduce Reservoir Frogs so that my castmates can get our chairs out here. So this has been really interesting so far. We've heard a story about a middle school teacher, and we've had 2 sets. Oh, they're about done now. All right. Next up, Reservoir Frogs.
We are Reservoir Frogs. We are here to tell you a tale of greed, lust, ambition, stupidity, and ultimate failure. From our wonderful storyteller, we pulled three things. An object, which is a magic 8-ball, obviously. A location, which would be a Scrabble game. And a relationship, middle school faculty. Reservoir Frogs.
Hi, my name is Rhiannon Buttercup. I'm the geography teacher here in the middle school. I run the best Scrabble tournament, and all my students are just the best ever, and this is going to be the second tournament of the year, and everybody's so excited. I'm so excited to run it this year again.
Joanne Mendelson. I've taught pre-algebra for almost 50 years. And by God, you will solve for X by the time I'm done.
Hey, I'm Magic. You know, I just have a life of mystery and just general superstition and, well, magic. You all get it. You know what I'm talking about. But what I really want, just kind of like that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I want the answer to everything. Yeah.
I'm Rhiannon Buttercup. You can call me Mrs. Buttercup. I'm the geography teacher, and I'm excited to run the best Scrabble tournament in all of middle school history.
Joanne Mendelson. And if you can't solve for X by the time I'm done with you, you're just not applying for yourself.
Magic. I don't yet know everything.
One of my students, Stacy, she's the top student of her class. She is sick this year and isn't going to be able to be in the school Scrabble contest, and I don't know what we're going to do. I was really counting on Stacy, so I'm going to have to go with my next best student, Trevor. And he's not very good, but there's only 2 students that really want to play Scrabble this year. What am I going to do?
School extracurricular activities. There's a requirement for teachers to participate. As a means of stepping up the school's game, her entire salary for the year, Mrs. Buttercup's, has been based upon the performance of her students in a Scrabble tournament.
Trevor cannot participate in the Scrabble contest. He hasn't done math homework in over a week. And I can tell when he does the homework, he's copying from the back of the book because he's not showing his work. And he says, I just know it, Mrs. M. Not Mrs. M, and Mrs. Mendelson. And you are going to sit down, young man, and you are going to apply yourself to this equation. How do you expect to get anywhere in life if you don't apply yourself, Trevor? You're staying after school, and we are going over these integers.
When I was new to this world, freshly brought in and becoming awakened to life in general and the needs of mankind, and I learned something very special about myself. That knowledge is the pinnacle of civilization. And if you don't have it, well, you just don't have it.
Magic, unfortunately, took out over $150,000 of loans to become a middle school philosophy teacher. He doesn't acknowledge that he regrets these results, but we all know.
I had several students. They came to me with a quandary. Quandary regarding, should we compete or should we not? Now look, you know that is the age-old question, child. Do you choose to compete in an event that could become violent? Or do you exist on the outskirts and watch and observe? You can learn things either way.
There's a new teacher here, Mr. Magic. He's very intense, and he gives lots of strange answers to all kinds of questions, and the students like him, I think. They listen to him more than many other teachers. For some reason, they respect him more than the regular teachers. And I said, well, Mr. Magic, should Trevor be in the Scrabble contest this year because he's not very smart? And he said,
things are looking favorable.
He said things are looking favorable. So I guess that means he should be in it, but Mrs. Mendelssohn, oh, Mrs. Mendelssohn, I'm scared of her. She doesn't want Trevor to be in it.
No, that new teacher, Magic, just has the kids call him Magic. I thought at first maybe he's foreign, and that's why. But no, he only goes by Magic. How are you supposed to get teachers and students to respect you? It's magic.
They all think magic is so cool. They don't even comment on my outfits anymore. Now that magic is here, how am I gonna know if I'm cool?
Well, I start every day with a Jean-Luc Picard vest tug. Just look out at the students and I let them speak their mind. Now what comes from a 13-year-old's mind you would not expect. You might not think that it's important or meaningful or poignant.
Well, the school principal, he says we can't let the children speak their mind and think their thoughts. And Magic thinks that that's okay. And I don't know what to do. I'm in the middle here. So I asked Mrs. Mendelssohn.
You let them start speaking their mind, they're gonna start speaking their hormones. We can't have that. That's why we should have kept the square dancing. They can work that hormone stuff out.
Personally, I think they should be able to speak their minds, but I just have to go with what the school rules are, because I'm also in the school. I have to follow the rules just like any student. And I think, well, but I guess I can't think my mind either. I hope they don't find out.
You know, I think my true task here is not to teach the children, but it's to learn from them so that I can teach my fellow teachers. Miss Buttercup, Miss Mendelssohn, they're decent at what they do. I mean, just decent.
He said he's going to learn from the students. You learn to watch your back with students. The minute you look away, they're on the phones or the TikToks or eating snacks or tell you what they're not doing. They're not solving for X.
I think it's so important for students to do the tests and learn by the tests, and then they forget everything that they learned, and then we teach them again what's going to be on the test, and then they fill out the quizzes,
They just learn for the standardized tests. I make them learn like we did my day, where you have the fear of God in you, and you just repeat it until it's scarred into your memory and never leave.
You might not think that I've got a humorous bone in my body. And I'm not talking about my upper arm bone. But I do. I decided to play a prank.
Magic does not, in fact, have a humorous bone in his body.
Old war wound. But I have to say, when the kids were asking me, is algebra important? Will I ever use it in my life? And I looked at them and I said, do you think you'll ever use it in your life? And they just looked at me.
Spoken like a true philosophy teacher.
And they were dumbfounded. But I said, look, if you can make meaning out of your algebra and your geography, even if it doesn't mean anything to anybody else, if you can make meaning out of it for yourself, then you've learned something.
Meaning? Well, they're just maps. And it's just a globe. That's all it is. It doesn't have any meaning. You just have to memorize where Kazakhstan is for the test.
So I told them, when you're taking those bubble tests, make a meaning out of it for yourself. Now, I didn't quite tell them to make smiley faces on their bubble tests, or to draw a dragon, or, you know.
All my students got an F this year because the Scantron doesn't read the smiley faces and dragons that they drew.
So I went to Rhiannon's office after a student decided the bubbles should spell out butthole. I don't like going in her office. I don't like the new maps that I don't understand. What's a Kazakhstan? It's just all Soviet bloc.
Yes, I did reprimand that student. Butthole is not a word that I would use. I told him if you wanted it to mean something, say the real word.
So next test, they're all making their bubbles go anus, anus, anus. I guess it's a little bit more medical, but I told him, you can't solve for X. You're never gonna be a doctor.
Well, I've never taught math, and I asked Mrs. Mendelson, well, how did the children take a test in math with just the Scantron bubbles? Because you have to write, well, when I was in school, well, we got a cookie every time we wrote the right answer. So we wrote it on the piece of paper, and we solved for X every time.
Due to budget cuts, Apple Valley High School, middle school, has had to replace all forms of test taking and assignments with Scantron. It's more efficient as dictated by Doge.
Oh, I heard they're coming for the geography lessons and classes and the teachers. What am I going to do now?
I'm fundamentally opposed to arbitrarily mandated Scantron. You might guess that I'm kind of a activist. Cool as I might be with my Jean-Luc Picard vest tug. No humorous bones in my body. You might ask, how do I tug my vest if I don't have upper arm bones? These are all metal. So,
I don't like having things in common with magic, but I don't like the Scantrons either. It's so much easier for dumb students to be like, is X 7? Is X 4? Is Gamma 1 and 3?
I didn't think it was possible, but me, this Buttercup, this Mendelson, we had something in common. We were going to take it to the man. We were going to be activists. We were going to storm the Capitol, all the way up there in St. Paul.
Activism? Oh, I'm not allowed. I was never allowed to do such a thing. And Mrs. Mendelson would never go for it either.
Well, when I was a kid, it was all about supporting our troops in the Korean War. It was a bit of a rude awakening to start teaching during the Vietnam War. But I think this is important to really let the mayor know what. He's a former student of mine anyway.
Mrs. Mendelson would be appalled to know, to find out if any of her coworkers ever found out that she repeatedly burned her bra in the 60s. Repeatedly. Like, every week.
They were polyester. The classrooms were warm. I would get angry at students not solving for X, and I would just combust. It intimidated the students. They would solve for X after that.
Oh, I wasn't there that long ago, but I have heard that's true. That she would just combust and get so upset because they weren't solving for X, and that's all that Mrs. Mendelson asked for the students. And now the students just, they don't even look at their phones anymore. I miss those days. They just talk to magic.
So, I find myself in an interesting predicament. On one hand, I'm inspiration for Miss Buttercup, giving her a little bit of passion in her life, some encouragement and oomph to do something special, important in this world, while simultaneously holding back that ancient firebrand. A metaphorical fire extinguisher in my hand as I watched Mrs. Mendelson shaking her fist. Well, St. Paul were there. And the riot of the three of us, it was a thing. We had to escape.
They canceled the Scrabble tournament this time. So I said yes to Mr. Magic and we went to the Capitol. I didn't know why. He said it was to go see the governor and say hello. I didn't know it was going to be activism. Oh, what is my mother going to think?
So we were going after school, and Trevor thought just because we were going to go do an activism, that meant he didn't have to stay after. I'm like, no, young man. You are riding the light rail with us. You're bringing your math book and your calculator, and we are going to solve this.
Absolutely no permission slips were signed. Not one.
As extracurricular activities go, I would say that the protest against Scantrons at the public square right in front of the St. Paul Capitol building was a moderate success. I mean, we did have one child join us and he got to learn what politics and activism was all about. Didn't solve for X, which set Miss Mendelson off.
And Trevor, he still doesn't know where Kazakhstan is. But at least he knows all the 3 branches of government and how effective they are.
God help us all. Trevor figured out what a lobbyist is, and he said he found his calling.
Felt like I'd gotten through to all 3 of them, both the teachers and the child. You know, I learned something that day too. Trevor told me that there was a secret vault in the basilica on the hill right across from the Capitol building. So we took a little bit of a field trip from our activism to go search for the treasure in the church.
Oh, a treasure vault in the basilica, you say? Oh, you know what's not in there? An education.
Oh, yes, I have taught all of my students about all the hidden treasure in all the basilicas in America. Of course, that's part of my geography lesson. And, well, then Magic wanted to go find it. And, well, we can't go and look for the treasure. Of course, we have to be protesting the Scantrons.
Due to budget cuts, all substitute teachers have been replaced with just VHS copies of National Treasure. This has led to some understandable misunderstandings.
Who knew that VHS tapes were so flammable? Miss Mendelssohn was passing around, I want to say it was a cigarette, but it didn't quite smell right. Trevor, myself, Buttercup, Mendelssohn, we all partook.
Well, it's medical, you see. I have glaucoma and PTSD from 50 years of teaching. Teaching math to young, lazy no-goods who don't want to solve for X. That Trevor was really getting on my nerves. But I figured, it's rude to not share.
Yeah, she made the mistake of giving the last little bit to Trevor and burnt his fingers and dropped it right on the VHS tapes.
Our lesson plan! What are we gonna do without a VHS tape? Trevor just burned it. Maybe he really does want to find meaning. I have to get this Scrabble tournament back. Otherwise I'm not gonna get paid. Well, that's of course the first thing, because that's what my check is based on, but then
Everyone was panicking about the Scrabble and the VHS, and I didn't know what to do, so I'm like, okay, everyone, 2 lines, it's square dancing time. There's a reason this has been in the school system for 50 years.
The reason it had been in the school system for 50 years was, at one point, square dancing was the entire physical education curriculum, all of it.
Well, large fire in a basement enclosed space. Square dancing was an interesting choice. Well, I'd have to say that if I was gonna die, I think I'd rather die with my heart beating and... You understand. And, so we did. We joined hands and kind of did a little bit of a maypole around that flaming bunch of VHS tapes. Smoke filled the small chamber of the basilica basement.
dancing was never very much allowed when I grew up, but square dancing was okay because it was the whole exercise regimen of the United States in middle school when I was growing up. So I guess I allowed myself to do some dancing. And then there was all the fire, of course, and magic. I don't know why he said he doesn't have arm bones, which I didn't know was possible. And then he didn't seem to be, when the flames hit him, they didn't seem to affect him at all. It was very strange. I'm not sure what happened. I asked Mrs. Mendelssohn if she saw it.
I also don't have skin. It's a war wound. So I'm just kind of like metal and flame retardant all at the same time. But yeah, I learned something that day. I learned a lot. I learned that inflammable skin does not save one from smoke inhalation. Epilogue. Well, as the philosophy teacher, magic, teacher of the supernatural, the unseen, the unknown, what does life mean? I did learn a lot. Because, they say that as a person dies, they learn everything that they wanted to know in that last moment. And I did. I did learn everything I wanted to know. The sad part is I never get to impart it to anybody else.
We got our Scrabble tournament back because our lesson plan burned up during the square dancing tournament. So they canceled the square dancing tournament and they brought the Scrabble back, and we can't show National Treasure anymore because that was the only copy in the whole school district. We're gonna have to find meaning in our lives now to be able to teach. Who would have guessed?
Well, the fire wasn't a problem for me because after 50 years working in public schools, I'm more asbestos than woman. But I was forced to retire, something about endangering a student and a week's hospitalization for Trevor. So now I work part-time at the dispensary. Should come visit.
Thank you for watching this educational film on how not to be a teacher.
Andy Christian. Diana Christian up in the booth.
And welcome back to the stage, because he never really left, your host for the evening.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming out to Improvocation. I would say that it was wonderful to see you here on a nice and sunny, almost summer Thursday evening, but I'd be lying because it was rainy and ugly out there. I think that, maybe April showers will bring May flowers, but who am I kidding, right? It's Minnesota. We're going to see snow again. You can boo that. Anyway, thank you so much for coming out, enjoying I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Our show this evening. This is a moment where we usually give the other groups a chance to plug any shows that they may be in upcoming. Mint Lips or Paradox of Choice, is there anything that you're doing in the near future? That sounds like, Michelle.
I have a show at Bryant Lake Bowl. It's Zodiac Improv. It's on, it's at 7, I think, next Wednesday the 30th.
I'm also going to be in that.
Me too.
All right. Sounds like we got a lot of people that are interested in the Zodiac, or at least they have Zodiac.
I'd like to give a plug for Saturday night, 7 o'clock at the History Theater in St. Paul is Film Score Fest. Friends of mine put it on. It's a really good show. Local musicians pair up with local filmmakers, and there's a live orchestra.
That sounds fun. The Reservoir Frogs are going to be in on May 2nd at 8:30 at the Old Historic Mound Theater, the Twin City Comedy Festival run by Fearless Theater Creations. Is that their
Productions.
Okay. And so they're putting on a comedy festival, and we're going to be performing at 8:30. It will be basically what we're doing here, except it's an hour set.
Oh, gosh.
So you get to see more of this longer and more wackiness and weird characters. Because we're going to have 5 characters instead of 3. So we're really going to push ourselves on that one. And then in May, we will have
Mother's Day, 7 p.m.
Mother's Day, May 11th, 7 p.m. We will have Improvocation back here again with the same 3 groups. Reservoir Frogs, Mint Lips, and Paradox of Choice. All right, I think that is it for the evening. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great weekend, and we hope to see you back here again soon.